Hey, YouTubers, Jason Palmisano here. Most people just call me Coach Jason. Want to talk to you today about overcoming opposition. How do you do that? I'm going to give you three strategies to overcome opposition. Chances are you've got opposition in your life. If you're about purpose and a meaningful mission, something that you believe in, that you're putting out in the world, the work that you love to do, chances are you faced opposition, are facing opposition, or buckle up, Buttercup, you're going to face opposition. So it's something that we have to deal with, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes more times than others, right? Sometimes that opposition comes heavier than other times. And I want you to know that uh, in dealing with opposition, to overcome it, you don't have to pulverize and defeat your opponent, like the person the person sitting on the desk across from you. You don't have to, beat them to a pulp. The person that's a few cubicles over, that's getting under your skin and pressing your buttons, whatever adversity that they're causing in your life, you don't have to dominate them to overcome that opposition. Now, a couple of exceptions may be in the military, right? When you're at war and the stakes are life and death, and villages and people groups and countries are at stake, obviously, yeah, that would be different. Um, a lesser example of that, but still, where you would have to level up your aggression, right? And you want to win and dominate, would be on the sports field in many cases, right? But in life, which is the greatest arena, the most significant stadium that you'll ever play in is the stadium of your life. And you're going to face opposition because you're about something special, you're about something purposeful. But you don't have to, in the arena of life, in the stadium of life, you don't have to dominate and pulverize other people to advance your mission. You just have to overcome that opposition to keep going. And so the greatest coach who's ever lived, Jesus, who's still coaching folks like you and me today. He's written the greatest playbook ever written. The Bible tells us how to win in life. And so I'm in the scriptures in Matthew chapter 22, and I'm reading how Jesus faced opposition. And there was this particular group of people called the Pharisees, who were kind of a religious group, leaders of that day. And they came at Jesus with a question about taxes. Have you ever had a question about taxes? Like, why am I paying so much? Right. Well, this question was a little bit different. They said, hey, Jesus, um, is it right, as Jewish people, is it right that we pay the imperial tax to Rome? And they're trying to trick him. They want to find a charge against him. They're opposing him because they just want to sidetrack him. And Jesus says, well, show me the coin. Whose inscription's on it? Caesar's. Well, pay to Caesar what's Caesar's and give to God what's God's. And he silenced the opposition. He didn't get frazzled. He didn't get sidetracked. He didn't get aggressive and verbally abusive. He just asked them a question back and silenced them. Well, so they're silenced. So then this other group called the Sadducees, another religious sect of leaders of that day. And interestingly, the Sadducees hated the Pharisees. The Pharisees hated the Sadducees, but they went Godfather on Jesus. There's a line in The Godfather that says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So the Pharisees and the Sadducees become friends. They link up because they have this common purpose of sidetracking, sidelining, opposing Jesus and the mission that he was on. So the Sadducees come over and they ask him this ridiculous question about marriage and the resurrection, and this woman's husband died, and then his brother marries, and on, and it happens 7 times, and so all 7 brothers die, and the woman has no kids. Whose husband is hers in the resurrection? And Jesus says, you're in error because you don't know God and you don't know the scriptures. You're in error. Silences them. And he points to the scriptures and corrects them, again, not aggressively. He doesn't, he's not there to put them down in a way that just, in essence, embarrasses. He just enlightens them with truth and moves on. Well, the Pharisees and the Sadducees aren't going to have it. So Pharisees come to him, they can't do it. The Sadducees go, hey, give us a chance. He silences them. And so the Pharisees, they come back and go, all right, let me have another shot at it. And so the Pharisees come back and go, hey, Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus answered, well, love the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, soul, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Silences them again. And so then Jesus, three strikes and you're out. Jesus then calmly asks them a question. And he says, David, or not David, he says the Messiah. So he's speaking of himself, but they don't believe he's the Messiah. Whose son is he? And so they thought about it. And the Pharisees said, they're like, well, David, he's David's son, because he's from the lineage of Jesus, is from the lineage of David. And then Jesus says, well, he says this, the Psalms say, David says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. And so Jesus says, if then David calls him Lord, how can he be his son? And they were silent. Here's what the scriptures say. No one could say a word of reply. And from that day on, no one dared to ask him any more questions. No one dared ask. They were silenced. And so how to overcome opposition. Let me give you 3 insights that I just, that came to me, because I deal with opposition too. I mean, I get the comments and, we all do, right? So how do you overcome that? And so here's 3 insights that came to me. I want to pass them on to you because you're my fellow athlete. You're my teammate in this great game of life, this biggest stadium we'll ever play in, all right? So how to overcome opposition. Number 1, be confident in who you are. Be confident in who you are. So here's one question that I want you to ask yourself. What makes you you? What makes you you? What makes you tick? What qualities do you love about yourself? What are your strengths? Like, look inward. Like, what are my strengths? Because sometimes we can hear opposition. And again, it's not a physical battle in life. It's more of a mental and emotional game. And we hear that opposition and we can start believing it. We can start letting us get us down. It gets inside of our head. It gets inside of our heart, it kind of sidelines us. But so like you go, man, what makes me tick? What makes me me? What am I about? What qualities do I love about myself? And let me play. I want you to play to your strengths. Play the game of life to your strengths. Really be confident in who you are. But in order for you to be confident in who you are and how you were created, you got to know who you are. What makes you tick? What makes you you? What are your strengths? And play to those strengths. You were created for greatness, right? And here's the thing. You have everything you need right now. You have everything you need to be successful. And if you don't feel that way, it's probably because you've been exposing yourself. You've been exposing your mind more to the disempowering beliefs. You've been exposing yourself more to what the opposition's saying and starting to believe them. Here's what I want you to do. Expose yourself more to your strengths, to who you really are, to the greatness you were created for. The Bible says this in Romans 10:17. It says, faith comes by hearing. Faith comes by hearing. So who are you listening to? Opposition or building your own self up? Listen to yourself. Speak to yourself. Speak life. Speak power. Speak positivity. Speak possibilities into your life. Believe that. Faith comes. A synonym of faith is belief. So we could say that belief comes through hearing. What are you listening to? Listen to things that build your belief. And that's how you get confident in yourself, right? Then you just go to work on your craft. And the more you work on it, the more confident you become in it, the more confident you are in yourself. So the number one way to overcome opposition, being confident in who you are. And that confidence comes from belief. What are you listening to? Okay, belief comes through hearing. Number two, believe in your mission, your work. Believe in your mission and your work. The work that you're about could be, you might be an engineer, or you might own your own engineering company, or you might own a bakery. Like one of my kids started her own bakery. Oh, Sugar Rose Bakery. She just does what she loves to do. So when you discover what you love to do, and maybe you're a gym owner, right? Maybe you're a personal trainer. Maybe you're a school teacher. So many things. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. You just love to create things. But it's so important in life, in this big stadium of life, the most significant stadium you'll ever play in. Gosh, I can't say that enough. And this is where winning really matters. And the way to win is to do what you love to do. Really be about a meaningful mission. Now, one of my mentors, Lewis Howes, School of Greatness. Lewis doesn't know me. He doesn't know that he's my mentor, but he's one of my mentors because I listen to his stuff a lot. And he's written a book, and his most recent book talks about this meaningful mission and how we ought to be about a meaningful mission. And it's all about serving people. So whether you're a W-2 employee working for a company, a 1099 contract employee, or maybe you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, your life is about serving people in some way, shape, or form. And you ought to love what you do. And I say, love what you do until you don't love it anymore, then go do something else. Because sometimes people will go, well, Jason, what if I don't love what I do? Okay, well, this is your ball game. This is your stadium. It's your playing field. So let me give you an example. I am the founder of Trinity Fitness and served as the CEO for 13 years. Well, Trinity Fitness started back in 2008 when my wife came to me and said, I'm ready for a change. Can you help me? We had 4 kids in 4 years. At this point, in 2008, they were all in elementary school. So my wife, like a lot of great moms, poured all of her time and attention into the kids, but she let herself go in the process. So now in 2008, she's low energy. She's a little bit heavy. She's out of shape. She's like, I'm ready for a change. Help me. So I start training her in my garage, which is right behind this wall. And next thing I know, the whole neighborhood's running up and down my street doing burpees with me. I was crazy. 10 years later, I get this building. I name it Trinity Fitness, right? And then 10 years later, we've got 18 gyms across multiple states, multiple time zones. It was crazy, crazy. It was awesome. It was a very meaningful mission. I loved it, very purposeful. And we shared, scriptures right before the workouts and helping people get in the best physical and spiritual shape of their lives. It was awesome. I loved it until I didn't. One day, 13 years in, sometime around 2020, I just woke up and I'm like, I don't love this anymore. And so it wasn't an immediate decision, but I knew it was a wake-up call. It's like, life's too short. I need to do what I love. And it's not fair for Trinity Fitness or the people that I stay in half-hearted. That's not me. It's like, that's not what I'm about. Remember, number one, be confident in who you are. You got to know who you are. Like, I'm not a half-hearted guy. So if I'm half-hearted about something, I got to step back, evaluate, like, why am I feeling this way? Is it my time to exit? Turns out my time to exit. Set up a year-long succession plan, right? So I took my time. I did it right. You might be in a place where you're not passionate about it anymore. You're not in love with what you do anymore. Okay, set up an exit strategy. You don't have to give a 2-week notice, right? Maybe for you, it's a 2-week notice, but maybe for you in your position and your level, it dictates a longer pathway to your exit, but plan an exit strategy so that you can get in something you love. And so I got with my leaders, we put a year-long succession plan. We worked that plan all of 2021. And at the end of 2021, It was an easy passing of the baton to the next CEO. It was beautiful. And Trinity Fitness still exists today. They're thriving and doing well. But do what you love until you don't love it anymore, right? So how to overcome opposition, be confident in who you are, believe in your mission and your work. And then number 3, refuse to be distracted. Refuse to be distracted. You will have those people out there will say stuff about you that's not true. That's not fair. They'll misinterpret you. They'll misunderstand you. They'll say stuff that's ugly, whatever. You can allow that to derail you, or you can just know it's part of the game, right? Think about playing sports. Have you ever played sports before? Well, the nature of sports, you always have somebody to compete against. Somebody's coming up against you. Somebody's on the other sideline looking across or across the court from you. It's just the nature of the beast. It's also the nature of your meaningful mission, the purpose that you're about. You're always going to have opposition, okay? So if you stay focused, remember the scriptures in Matthew 22. Jesus asked them a question. They couldn't answer it. So they got quiet and no one dared to ask Jesus another question. I can promise you this. If you stay focused on your purpose in what you love to do and don't get distracted by your opposition and what they're saying, one of two things will happen. Either they will be silenced. They may still be opposed to you, but they're going to get, okay, we're not going to ask this guy any more questions, this girl any more questions. We're going to be silent. Or they'll come over to your side like, man, I once opposed this person, right? They once opposed you, but they see that you're so steadfast, you're disciplined, you're dedicated, you believe in your mission, you keep showing up. Like, wow, I'm impressed. I'm actually a fan now. And they come over to your side. And a lot of times that happens. And if not, they just get quiet, right? So there you have it. Overcoming opposition. If you're facing opposition, which if you're about a meaningful mission and purpose in life, you're doing what you love, you're going to have opposition. No doubt about it. It's the nature of the game. Number 1, be confident in who you are. Number 2, believe in your mission, right? Your purpose. Number 3, refuse to be distracted. That's it, my friends. If you like this video, hey, I've got more coming. Hit like, subscribe to this channel, and we'll catch you next time. Again, this